No sound.
Yes, I know. I'll start over here in one moment.
It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque, and in the same church, in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of the president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look to our soul, we see nothing but a star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand, to be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle, which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 100th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, January 14th, 2020. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today along with Flint Malhausen. And of course, we are joined with Carolina Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I think she might be ready to lead today's workshop. Hello, Carolina, are you there?
Hello, Rick. Yes, I am. I welcome you all to our first platform, and it's an anniversary platform, Rick. We are at the 100th One Planet, One Race, One Nation. Oh, that is beautiful. I just noticed it in the presentation. I said, what? 100? I thought I was misreading it, but no, we are at 100. That's a beautiful number to start this year. And all a happy new year to all of you from all of us. And we have planned the continuation on the platform of Mr. Keshe's teaching number 300. As it is the future of humanity, we are detailing it to as much as we can. And we have taken the parts in the in-betweens which have not so much to do with the future of humanity. We have removed them so that it becomes more a beautiful discussion platform for all of us. And I think Andreas has the document, so we can start. And thank you for all being here today. And I thank you for being present in our first meeting, which was our private meeting at 2:00. And everybody more or less was present. So Andreas, are you ready?
Yes, hello, good day to everyone. We came the last time till 1 hour and about 20 minutes. And today we can continue with the message to religious leaders.
Okay. As I'm not going to be doing all the reading myself, I hope that you knowledge seekers, council members, support council members will step forward, core team members, to take parts of the reading of these texts. And after each text, or if they are too long, just take a break in between so that we can ask the public to put their questions through if they have questions, or if they can refer to somewhere that they have experience with it. So let's start. Who would like to start?
I can start the first few paragraphs. A message to religious leaders. My message is very clear to the world religious leaders. Close shop and let the soul of the man free. It's very simple. You are responsible for the suffering of the souls, and enough is enough, or I close it for you.
Thank you. Anybody, any questions regarding this? Or even suggestions how we can progress with this? Nobody? The whole understanding is to open them up, because we, through our wishes, create the paths of the change. We have experienced it so many times that when we are together and we work on these kind of documents, we change the path of humanity. We change in so many ways the direction where we want it to go, for it to appear to bring peace among so many. And this is a very big message. So who would like to stand still with it and open it up more? And how can we approach it? Anybody?
Through the use of plasma technology or the universal systems, we have the first time the chance, every one of us, to experience what is the soul and how to work with our soul more and more and more. And through that came out that the religions don't know what they are talking about. And for me, the question is how we can inform the religions about that, and what is the purpose when we are doing that, or how they can change that they tell the truth, or do they have to change to tell the truth?
I have an idea. I have an idea. Well, it actually is coming in. I truly believe that no matter any religion is part of, like, the person supposed to experience that and learn something from that religion. But at the level of the soul is so unlimited in everything that it wants to know everything. But in the particularity of the experience at this moment, you know, I went through Catholic and then I walk away from Catholic, and I went through different experiences. So the openness and flexibility to understand that the religion is an experience, an understanding of a belief system, but the soul is a much larger level, is the understanding of the existence. And so when a person who learning about or experiencing religion is limiting himself to see only himself, but we are not only ourselves, we are all, we have to respect and understand that we are not only ourselves, we are sharing, we are part of, of one. So I think that's the road to understanding that allowance. And at this moment someone wants to experience that religion, but maybe tomorrow change, but I cannot control it. The soul of that person is guiding to say, hey, it's time to change. We have to open the door to, like, things are not rigid, it's constantly changing positions. There is an openness to learn and expand more the experience. And what I see, people with the religions, they cocoon, they get in a bubble that they don't want to, they're not open to even respect other people's religion. We have to respect and allowance. And at one point, people decide to that religion's not doing nothing for me, they look for something else. And maybe they found that the connecting to the soul is sufficient, that you don't need a belief system and religion, because connecting to your soul is giving all the strength and the trust and joy that is being connected to your soul. So it's up to the person to experience that experience. I don't know if it's how to change a narrow mind into, more openness and flexible.
It's not referring towards the ones which are following or are in the religion. He is referring to something much more specific. And they know.
But if you talk to a leader of Catholics, they think the universe is around them.
No. We are talking not to any religion in name. We are talking not even to the ones which are following the religion. He has specified who. My message is very clear to the world religious leaders. Close the shop and let the soul of the man free. It's very simple. You are responsible for the suffering of the souls, and enough is enough, or I close it for you. So we're not speaking about the people who are experiencing, or we are going to the ones who have set the scene for what Mr. Keshe is referring to.
But basically what I'm saying is the opposite. I'm saying I'm free and to choose and experience what I want to choose as a free soul. But what you're saying is, like, some religious leaders set my soul in a condition that I'm not able to be free. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes, I think that is what is the understanding, because it's still going on every day that if you don't go to church, you don't have a job. You don't go to church, you cannot have the benefits. If you're in struggling situation, you can't go to or receive welfare because the church is not there, because you're not part of it, or you're not following. I'm just referring to one point, but
I understand. I see the force and the strengths is in the intention of us can break any limitation, because we allow to this belief system that there is a leader that's limiting me. Unless there is a plasma, or there is some kind of curse or some kind of wording that, I mean, how to unlock that limitation. I mean, I'm brainstorming, okay? So I am a one.
When you're going and work on soul level, how fast and how long does it take you? And how much effort does it need?
I just don't listen outside, I listen inside. When
to reach for the change, how long does it take?
Instant, if you really do it right.
So that's why we are all together. We are always working with the topics which create chaos for so many. We elevate their souls, and the best way to do so is, what do we really want? And we create a wish for it.
Well, I see it from this point of view. One person's not gonna, I mean, if I
are we one person together, or how many people will be listening even after a few hours this class or presentation is closed? It starts circulating, it starts getting translated, it goes to the Wikipedia, and more souls are giving to the field strength for that plasma field to go and reach what we are intending for it to create. And we have done it numerous of times, and we have seen the change. It might not be there tomorrow or in the next minute, because we are working on soul level, then it takes its time for it to manifest itself in the matter state. That's how you create.
Well, I'm trying to create from I don't recognize that there is a leader in religion, because the religion is by the belief system of each person. That's why I'm seeing
we are not speaking in person. We are speaking globally and in the totality how many there are in positions which are doing, because otherwise Mr. Keshe would have never created this expression to say, my message is very clear, meaning it has to change. That's why I brought this teaching on this platform, for all of us to work on it, to change it. So we switch the wish platform and work on a wish.
But the wish, if you say, I want to be free, I don't want no limitations by religious leaders, and my experience is that
because when you create a wish, you always work from the point what you want to the benefit of all. And we have learned to work really all together as a good team to bring that wish on the table. We haven't done that yet, not this one.
I'm just saying, I am free.
What about the other 4 billion humans that aren't? Because let me finish, please. Because it is a business. The world religions are a business. And that's what he's talking about, closing the shop. That's like closing the business and let the soul of the man free. It's very simple. Or I close it for you. It's that business. It's not the process of being free. That's fine. It's not the process of elevating others and all that. That's all, good. Fine.
I get it, Rick. That's a perfect wording. The business of the religions to control.
Right. So that's what's not correct at this point in time. The same as the kingships. The time of kingships is over. We just had recently this big kerfuffle here because the royal Prince Harry and his wife and small child have just moved to the local area in Canada and have said goodbye to the whole monarchy and the whole kingship thing of England. That's just happened this week, for example. So we're at a time where we're seeing the dissolution, the dissolving of these large structures that are controlling people. So that's just, I think that's what he's saying. That's what I see.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent talk. Actually, it's we're clarifying a lot. And maybe I start with the storm, and I apologize with that, but it helps.
Just on the lighter side for the moment, I know Mr. Keshe and Rick, you said that word business, and that was on my mind before I opened my mic, that the religion business is over or almost over. Now, Mr. Keshe is saying, and this is on the lighter side, so take it lightly. He says you have to close the shop and close your business, but they have a very good business. They don't pay taxes on most of the property they own, or probably the salaries and so on. So would they be able to sell their business to someone else to continue the abuse? Obviously, that's self-answering. But I thought that was because it is a business, and I know a monk, and I've been telling her that the monk business is almost over.
They're not doing too good financially, actually. If you look at the Vatican right now, they're actually kind of in trouble. Maybe they have to create a war or something in order to generate money. I don't know how they actually do it, but apparently they, aren't same as the Queen and all of that is getting a little tenuous. The profits aren't there like they used to be. So
Mr. Keshe did say that the buildings, a lot of these religious buildings will be left, and as the soul of the man is elevated, they'll look at them as relics of where we used to be abused, but they won't step foot inside them.
Right. They're more of a liability than an asset right now. Think about it. Would you want to own all of the assets of the Catholic Church right now? Chances are most of it's going to be taken away in the next few years, just from all the lawsuits and all the different actions that have happened and so on and so forth. Plus, it's hard to maintain old castles and old churches and so on. It's cost a lot of money. So I think they're in trouble. They're all in trouble, and that's just the message. It's time to close shop. Let the soul of the man free. It's very simple. You are responsible for the suffering of the souls, and enough is enough, or I close it for you. So Mr. Keshe is good at, he's one of the best businessmen of the world, you could say, and he knows how to close shop when it's time.
And some of these religious leaders, Mr. Keshe says, have been starting to discuss the soul in accordance with his teachings. So he assumed that they are listening to the teachings of the soul.
Well, this is more likely what might happen is what could be called a transmutation or transformation of the churches and religious leaders, and maybe they become a different function, or a different process goes on to help people. Like, what if there's suddenly a guaranteed annual income for everybody on earth? It'll be distributed through the religious leaders, but on a non-religious basis, because it's spread equally to every single person, no matter what religion they are, something like that, to force the religions to work with each other instead of against each other as a competition in this marketplace of souls.
Because as we saw in the initial clip, the religious leaders are the ones that give the pretext to the rambunctious children to go to war.
Yes, right. They're part and parcel of that.
What if we take action? There are so many churches and there are so many knowledge seekers. How much would it take to carry a bottle of plasma gans water and just put it in where the holy water is as you're supposed to put your hand in and make your cross as you walk into the church.
Well,
You bless every soul with the elevation of the field strength, and it doesn't do them any harm, I think.
They
interesting.
may think it's adulterated, but it's actually elevating.
Well, maybe you can come up with a certain brand of holy water that's specially blessed by all the priests, and this becomes the new standard for all the churches to use. And it's based on the Gans water, and scientifically proven to elevate the soul, and at least they participate in the program that way. It's brilliant.
like
I love it.
Like
We
a
put it-
transition, yes.
We put it in the fountains and the rivers and the seas and the oceans.
Mm-hmm.
And we are draining it through our house when we wash the plates and the ganses, and everything is circulating. So why not baptizing a little bit more, as we say?
Didn't it already
There's-
happen in the Rome convention? Wasn't the
Oh,
water
the
added
gas,
to the
the
fountains
gases,
or something?
the ganses are still present there.
Wait a
Well,
minute,
Oh,
There's
religion goes
there's a
high
chance
tech.
already. Pardon me?
I said
Sorry.
religion goes high tech with the plasma technology.
Yeah, but with benefits.
We can
that
offer
they can't handle the benefits in a way.
we can offer them the Maghraf systems to support the church with the energy cost.
Mhm.
They need to pay their electricity bills. So
Oh, yeah.
get creative.
Yeah.
There's an old joke that says, how do you make holy water? And the answer is they boil the hell out of it. But this is one step further. You could take it with the Ganses.
Uh-huh.
Have a universal health unit in each church.
Mhm. It's an idea.
And initially, what
For
if
the
the
priest.
people- Go ahead, Rick.
I just suggested for the priest. Go ahead, yeah.
And what if the priest using the Gans water, the people felt elevated? This is as a transitioning point, what the priest would know, and that they would feel elevated would increase the attendance at the church, which is then to develop into the Gans and the nano coating and so on down the line, just as Mr. Keshe has shown us. But with
Right,
a church structure that eventually leads to the freeing of the soul, unless he wants their doors closed immediately.
Well, in so many ways, the message is to go a little bit faster because they are already doing it to themselves. The scandals worldwide and acceptance of penalties and straighten things out and what is coming onto light, nobody has done it but themselves. So Mr. Keshe always says that souls are balancing the books themselves. He's urging it for it to go a little bit faster because we are moving faster. And then I see Bali's done, put here the permission of other souls to use plasma water processing through the desire to be greedy or to intervene. You have forgotten something which was posted in the last 2 weeks, I think. And it's the presentation in Romania, where Mr. Keshe very explicit explains, but people don't pull it out of the content than only what Mr. Keshe is saying at that given moment. You always have to open the knowledge to understand more. And that is, you only can take from the plasma field what you need. So if a soul doesn't need anything, because of the way you put it with your intent, if you give freely from your soul, then the other soul will take what it needs. No more, no less. Because you don't force it upon them. You don't put a spell upon the Gans water when you release these cancers. That should have already been understood by a lot of knowledge seekers, as in Mr. Keshe's explanation, when he sets a way of, how do you say, to approach anyone. He always gives from his soul, and he always says, take what you need. Because it's given freely. There is no dictation how much you're going to take, for what purpose you're going to take, because it's given on soul level. Souls know with one another if the intent and the giving is there in the true way it should be. And as knowledge seekers, you should have already discovered that. That's why I try to work so much with the platform of the wishes, that we will make sure there is nothing in there that we don't want. But at the same time, we do not dictate nobody. We are just trying to release the energy through our field strength by giving it the attention for it to flourish where the soul needs it, that it can take it.
Carolina, we have Alfred that set his hand up for a while. Perhaps we can allow him to speak. He also made a statement in the chat. The world religious leaders had meetings between them, so they only need to expand these meetings a little and direct them to the 1N, 1P, 1R. You want to go ahead, Alfred?
Yes, this is Fried. My normal name is Alfred. That's why it's written like that.
Okay.
Right. So what you said, Caroline, is that you would like that religious leaders are addressed, and that's exactly that, because they themselves, what they have to do that step. Of course, a lot of people around them can do the step, but when they, as the representatives of the big religions, when they do the step, then it's way, way easier. And in fact, they know that there is one humanity. So it's just an enhancement of that, I think.
Okay, thank you, Fried.
If I may, it's Doug here. All churches have doors, and people walk in and people can walk out. And if they're a business and there's a better product with a better result, as they say, the customers vote with their feet. And with the spreading of the understanding of plasma, people are waking up to the fact that it does what the priests have promised and the leaders of the church have promised for thousands of years, but haven't delivered. So it's comes to a point where there's no one in the church, and the priest is standing up in front of nothing, no one. And the questions must be asked, what's going on? There's no one's coming. Mr. Keshe mentioned, I think it was in Austria, when it was disclosed that there was a problem inside the church with interfering with children and doing all sorts of nasty things, then nobody went. The congregations of the churches, they were very devout. They just dropped to almost zero. So, you know, it will develop itself in that way because our wishes are so strong. Close shop. They will close the shop because there's no customers in the shop. It's not profitable anymore. It's not working. Everybody has marched out the door and gone to a better place. And, you know, thinking like that anyway, that's my thoughts.
That absolutely happened here recently. I just read in the news that two churches that normally are competition for each other in this business have decided to get together and use one church instead of the two because they can't afford to run them both now because their attendance has gone down in each of the churches. So now they're forced to cooperate with each other and to have one facility instead of two and combine their religion somehow so that they can still try to carry on in this dwindling business, it seems.
I have even more surprising news that one priest is taking care of three, how do you call it? Churches at the same time. There are not even priests coming up anymore. And the priests which are turning up, they are getting paid for the job. They actually, in so many ways, some of the priests have to pay to get a parish like this. It's much far more complicated, and it's, as it was put on the table, it's a business. So there will be no more cry for work because there will be so much to do in the benefit of all through the change and to what the foundation is bringing on the table. Nobody will have to worry about jobs because we have so much to do that we have created over so much time. And it's just the reaching from us to them, to their soul, on soul level, for them to start by elevating them. They will come up with the solutions because they see themselves that they are at the dead end coming. So I think the best way to do so is to create a wish for that and let it develop the path without forcing them, but by through and giving, that they can find the solutions. The same way as we created the wish for the displaced people and the refugees. That information came from Mr. Keshe. He said, it's no use giving them donations and bringing them food packages and clothing packages and God knows what. It doesn't work. It has never shown that it has brought the solution for any of those countries. They're still in poverty because of a different reason. The structure has not fallen in place for them to be able to do so. So whatever you bring from outside is giving them fish, as Mr. Keshe said, and you don't teach them how to fish. But what is the teaching of the fishing? Is the elevation that they find their own solutions. That was my point, referring to the message which was posted. We don't tell them what to do, but we give so much that they find their own solutions to walk out of it. Because somebody posted something quite nice here in the chat. Just let me go to it. Just 1 second. Where is it? Where is it? During the days, the religious leaders, despite each other, at night they realize they need each other to stop the abuse. All men come from the same creator, empty Keshe. And this was posted by Mark Carlton Anderson.
nobody has an easy life. They just don't know how to come out from it or from underneath. So if we give from our soul, knowing with the attention that we will elevate them to the point of understanding, they will find their own path to do something with it. It's just that they're short, that they don't find the path. So maybe at the end of our meeting, we can create a beautiful wish, keeping in mind the message to the religious leaders. What do you think? Can we move on to the next topic?
I think that means yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Andreas. The next title, please.
You go in with a wish. When you go into the systems, you go with a wish. Understand what this implies, not only for soul, but the soul of the others. When you enter these systems, you will do in the coming weeks and understand you walk in naked. Does not matter how many Gucci watches, you are in naked in front of your own soul, and the beauty of it is, very soon, as we all reach the point of elevation of understanding of our souls, we all see the rainbow colors of our body of emission of the fields of the soul of the man, and we say, oh my God, that is red, he is up to some nasty things in that part, or is wishing something else and doing something else somewhere else. And we all try to stay as white as possible. You understand, this smallest star will shine like a red light.
So, there you go, straight away to the wish. Anybody, any questions or opening it up? What is not yet understood completely from this part?
I'm trying to understand the part about where he says, oh my God, that is red, talking about the colors of the emission of the fields of the soul of the man. That is red. He is up to some nasty things in that part and so on. And then he says, we all tried to stay as white as possible. And I take that as to mean not skin color, of course, but as the white light, the clear light, let's say. And then he says, this smallest star will shine like a red light. And that's why I don't understand what he means like a red light. Does that mean it outshines the red light that came out before? Or
That's your, I think that is referring to your rainbow colors as your aura. When people see an aura, there's so much research already on it, and it's so well, beautiful, documented, that they detect the motion of the man through the colors, and they detect the illnesses or conditions of the physicality through the colors. And people which really are working in that field know what I'm talking about, and then they're also referring to the chakra points, because each color is referred to a condition. So the red is a red alert trick, and we all know that red is dangerous. So in this part, he says nasty things, which means you will see the glow of that field strength of color, which is very important, because if you remember, he says if you see a true spaceship, you always see at the edges the colors of the rainbow appearing. A man is no different. So if we go in with our physicality and then we emanate there, you will see the colors. And then, do you remember where he said, and doing something else somewhere else, because you remember me explaining about the four souls on the table and the four souls in the physicality, and the one who was talking about how many fishes he catched, that the other souls are always present. So you will see through the colors, that will be a very fast indicator. And then to confirm this, he says, and we all try to stay as white as possible, meaning we are not doing anything wrong, and we are not intending to do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that
But
is
then,
where
but why does it say this smallest star, meaning the white one, I suppose, this smallest star will shine like, I think it's supposed to be a LED light, like LED light, not a red light.
maybe that came out through the transcribing somewhere the wrong. We can go back to it and see where we can correct it, because it's not easy to always interpret exactly what Mr. Keshe is saying. So maybe there's a typo there, a mistake.
He may be referring back to that red light that's, emitted, and maybe that smallest star emits like a red light or something. But to me, that smallest star would be the white light that would shine like an LED light.
Yeah,
But it'd be good to clarify. Maybe Mr. Keshe could clarify that sometime, or if we could really listen closely to the
we're usually with the 7-8 people sitting on top and listening to it till somebody says, oh, I think that's what he says. It's not easy, but we can find out. So, Andreas, if you can take a note of this part, it's 1:26:38.
Yes, we have together listened with 6-7 people. You have been part of it to this sentence, exactly to this one.
Also to this?
Yes.
We'll ask Mr. Keshe.
It could be what Rick is referring to, or it could be like a real light. Could those be the words?
That would sound different, I suppose, but that would also be applicable, I would think, yeah. But it'd be good to get Mr. Keshe just to even talk about this a little more, this idea of he's mentioned it several times, the rainbow colors that are emitted and so on. This is a pretty important idea, and maybe it'll give us some inspiration to experiment with the new groups and so on. It seems like there's room for some sort of detector there. If it's not in our own bodies, then perhaps we can embody one in a device of some sort.
I think it will be a very nice question, Rick, for next Thursday to put it up on the table.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nobody else? Questions?
May I say something?
Who's this, please?
This is Alex from Canada.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
In my opinion, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this statement. The red light, as Carolyn said, it has to do with the aura and the emission of the aura, and specifically what it means is lying and deception. And so the smallest star is like a red light because that has the weakest field. It is, in terms of a Maglev relationship, it's a magnetical emanation. So it is a very weak energy source, and the white light is a combination of all the energy sources, and is the strongest, and that is the gravitational aspect of it. So the higher feeds the weaker. But if the weaker puts up the barrier, then it's making it very difficult to create a balanced condition. This is the basics behind the song, "The Yellow Submarine." So the red light is lying, and the yellow is the kind of condition that we had on this planet 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And we've all been in a sea of green. And as we're elevating and we go to the higher color frequencies, eventually we get into the white, and then eventually we get into the sunlight. And so that is the progression. So the smallest star is the red light, because it is emanating nasty things. And the nasty things, nasty has a different connotation today in 2020. So let's just call it deception and lying. That's definitely what the red light is conveying. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. But it's a good idea from Rick to put it on Thursday morning. So if there are no more questions, we can move to the next topic. Anybody, any questions from the one we just did? Nope. Silence means agreement. Okay, Andreas, next one.
Cheating to their own soul. Love to see how many of you would do, cheat to your own soul in the dimension of physicality and its emotion. None of you can. As I said, if you remember some times ago, many people will not walk into the, what you call spaceship, because the soul won't allow. You were waiting for the UFO. Sorry, it's called the universal system, made individually, customized according to your wish.
Anybody, any questions?
Is
Yes.
Good day. I am done. Is the same example with a friend fishing friends in the table, cheating and balance count.
You cannot. He says, love to see how many of you would do, cheat to your own soul in the dimension of physicality and its emotion. But he says you cannot. None of you can.
Yes, because this is the balance count account. Now when I explained how the soul communicate with the other soul, no, it's not bigger fish, it's a little fish. Accounting through the physicality and soul of physicality and through the soul.
It's on soul level because the physicality is doing it. So it's the physicality who will not walk into it or will make the decision not to go into.
And even some people within the foundation, Mr. Keshe said, will not go into it.
Yeah, people which have. But what is it that they want? As the discussion was before, what do you decide? Do you want to stay? Do you want to stay away from the reality? Do you want to expose yourself to yourself? Because you're not dealing with nobody else. You're going to face you yourself. But that also means you're going to have to let go of a lot of things that you created which don't exist or been misunderstood or you thought that it was. So the things we have created in our physicality existence, I think our soul will put those in the right context. And that will be the facing of where Mr. Keshe says, there is no judgment. You judge yourself for who you are and what you are. And that might create a lot of fear among a lot of people. because he is explaining all the steps before you're going to be facing the system.
But couldn't it be if this month I don't want to walk into the unit, my soul won't let me, maybe next month I want to be elevated and I could walk into the unit? It's not a one-time shot.
Why are you referring to your soul? It's you, your physicality will make the decision. So you're part of it. You cannot say, if the way you talk to me, it's you talking to me. You got to go and make the agreement with your soul and your soul with you. It's not referring to another entity that will make that decision. You're in your physicality. It's you who's going to physically walk in it or not walk in it. Your soul is present.
But if your soul doesn't allow you to walk in it, does that mean the soul doesn't
Why would we? No. You're the one, not the soul. It's like I'm trying to blame my soul for what I'm doing wrong in the physicality. That doesn't work that way. It's you who makes the decision. And you can ask support from your soul to guide you to face whatever. It's not up to me even to say a word about it, but you can't say, what if my soul doesn't allow me? Your soul, why would your soul not walk into it? It's you and your physicality who is going to make that decision.
I thought we're going to elevate the soul of the man, and that will correct any physicality.
Who needs elevation, your soul or your soul of physicality?
I thought it was the soul of the
your
man.
Soul of your physicality.
But Mr. Keshe says, I'm not
your
here
soul
to...
is complete. No. Your soul is complete. Go back to the beginning where he teaches how a soul is created. You receive from the totality of the existence. You are complete and you know everything. You can always give to the soul that it can give more to the physicality because it has an agreement. But your soul is complete.
As I understand it, he keeps referring to we're seeking healing in the or balance in the physicality, where he's seeking balance at the soul level.
But your physicality is a soul. But don't confuse it with your soul.
Right.
It's we who are eating. It's we who are short of energy, not our soul. Our soul is getting depleted of the energy because we are doing all these things which we came to understand through all the teachings. Our soul is trying to guide, but it doesn't receive sufficient enough energy. I think the confusion comes from the point where, let's say we make a wish and we are speaking of soul level. You never ask the question, to which soul is this plasma field going if we create a wish? Don't you think so? It's us in the physicality which are carrying it out. It's not our soul. Because if you deplete your soul so much by whatever you're doing, let's say wrong, your soul is exhausted. You can bring your soul to exhaustion. So if we balance, what are we trying to achieve by the plasma waters, the universal systems, the magraphs, the energies? We are balancing the physicality of the soul and at the same time the soul itself. But where will it manifest itself first? In the physicality. Because the two souls are receiving at the same time, but they're not separate, but they have an agreement. So if I don't want to go into that system, it means my fear in my physicality, as an example, will withhold me not to go into the system because I don't want to face myself. But your soul is never going to refuse as your soul, if that makes it much easier to understand.
I think that was the key word that you brought up, the fear. Like, would the soul have any fear, let's say, or at least that level of fear? Whereas we know the physicality has all kinds of fears, let's say, one of them being the fear of maybe the fear of going into the universal system, knowing that it might become more or less irrelevant in that environment. Fear of loss, or fear of
Change.
death of something that doesn't really exist in a way.
Yep. Holding on to things that don't even exist. You fantasized, created, build up walls of protection, which they should never even been there in the first place. But this is the concept of the way we, or environment, or choices. Everything has come to this position where you are now. Your choices, but not always in its own freedom. Because if you go to what we were discussing above, the message of Mr. Keshe to the religious leaders, they have created a lot of fear in humanity. So the ones which have been brought up under these religious, very strict conditions, they know what we are referring to. And that might be one of the best examples not to walk into that. Where was it? Mr. Keshe was referring to it in one of his teachings. He says, we cannot sign the World Peace Treaty because I cannot give you my soul, because my soul belongs to Jesus. And that is why Mr. Keshe is referring to my message to the world leaders is close your shops. Because you're not setting man free, you're holding them captive in a belief system which is not correct. I think it was Mark who put this question through. So don't refer to your soul, but to your physicality, because that's the one who's living with all this, whatever it has created. He's the one who's not going to walk in, but your soul wants to walk in. If you trust your soul, you will walk in. Because that means you accept that you're free and you decide. Not your belief systems or your fears or whatever. And maybe it was a very good point for you to ask that question, because a lot of people might get confused between the two. It's you physically walking and sitting and laying down or whatever in that universal system. Your soul already wants to be there. But are you going to set your soul free to be in there? That you at the same time set yourself free. That's why Mr. Keshe is referring to a lot of courage. Is this better understood?
Yes, a bit. Do
Why
you
a
mean
bit?
we could be expecting a curveball?
No,
Something
it
unexpected
should,
could happen, huh?
no. He says you will. It only exists out of love. You're scared to be loved and to love yourself.
Oh no.
Or are we scared to go to sleep at night? Because in a way, that's a little death. We fall asleep and suddenly we wake up, and there's sort of this dreamy thing in between. But to our physicality, it's like it's non-existent during that time period. And what about that? Are we scared to go to sleep. Well, sometimes we are, and sometimes we're up most of the night because we don't want to sleep. Maybe some people have nightmares and that kind of thing. But on the, on the overall, we're not afraid to go to sleep, so we shouldn't be afraid to go into the universal system where maybe the physicality is goes into a temporary sleep, and the soul gets to play, gets to experience that joy, let's say. It seems like there's two modes of going in, either fear or joy. And if you have any fear, then that will interrupt with the joy function of the soul that would be revealed, let's say. But if there's
maybe
hanging on,
maybe I'm trying to give it to you in a different way. Let's say you've been a naughty boy, you've been a nasty character, you've done quite a few mistakes in your life. Yeah, I think we all did. Oh, we all have done. We are not saints walking with a white cloak, transparent, as we say, but just suggest that you're very well aware of your own personality and your own behavior and everything that you know about yourself. But now you get your chance to go and sit in that universal unit and to deal with all this, and in so many ways to find peace despite who and what you are. Wouldn't you grab that chance? Because that's what Mr. Keshe is explaining. Why are we taught to be so afraid of our own personality and our own doings and our own? Maybe we find a solution how to sort them out. Maybe we will walk out so peacefully that we have found the answer to so much which we would have never achieved because we stay in the fearful state or the guilt state because we've not been a perfect person. But who says that that was not perfect at the moment? Even before we switch to this platform, to bring you a reminder of the discussion that was on the table when brought the question to revive the souls which died in the plane crash. And it straightway brought me back to the explanation I'd given you before. Do you remember that woman that was sucked into the window on the plane? And she died in the process. But her soul, in so many ways, if you look at it from another point of view, what if her soul has sacrificed herself and her physicality together in agreement to save 250 people on the whole plane so that the pilot could bring the plane safe on the ground because it wasn't their time to pass over? We don't know why certain souls are in certain positions, but that's where the commandment comes, thou shalt not judge. Trust your soul, even when you're facing the most strangest things in front of you. They have a purpose to serve, but they have committed themselves to be in that spot, maybe because of that condition, to elevate somebody else. That's what Mr. Keshe was referring to before he dropped out. We do not know until it reveals itself. But it's not because we want it that way that it means it is good for us. So, where do you put your trust? I think your best option is your own soul, and face it. He mentioned that maybe those planes had to crush. Those things had to happen to bring, for once and for all, world peace on the table. If you change the way of thinking of the horror and how and what happened, isn't it better to elevate those souls and thank them for what they did in their giving, that we can establish world peace?
Because what did Mr. Keshe say? Trump swallowed what? We all saw it happening. It went straight into the news, and Mr. Keshe announced it in Thursday teaching. So it's not because we don't know the path for what, why, and how, and where is happening. If you have no judgment, but you just stay and you keep hold on to your own energy, then the truth comes on the table. It reveals itself. But where is your trust? You don't trust the soul, which is complete, which has nothing short, that it is acting upon in the good for the whole and the totality of humanity. That's why you elevate those souls. That's why you, instead of looking in a horror to it, give it grace for what they have achieved. But in the news and in the broadcast, they won't publish it that way. They will make you to shiver and to even get more angry and have more judgment. While actually, as a knowledge seeker, you should have understood, my God, thank you, souls, because it has established what we are aiming for. And more of these things and events will start coming and happening. Because it's, as Mr. Keshe has said so many times, the souls always balance the books. Always. But it's not up to us to judge it, but to start understanding the process of how it's happening. It is so beautiful how souls are there in the position to release and to give. And if we increase that field strength, we will create the changes faster. And we will be so full of gratitude for what those souls have achieved. Just remember that woman being sucked in that window and saved the whole plane. Everybody is, oh, it's horrible, it's this, it's that, but they never give her to elevate in a way of thanking because our mindset has not been created to work that way in that direction. Although all the soul teachings are referring to that way of thinking and applying. And Mr. Keshe, just what, an hour ago, he brought it on the table because he overheard the Iranians talking that they shouldn't go home, they shouldn't go on a flight because they might be bombed. And Mr. Keshe, straight away after the presentation of Mr. Trump, he released the information to the Iranian community. He said, it's safe now, you can go home. Because all those souls have brought that change. So why should there be any horror? If you understand when Mr. Keshe says, if you knew the beauty, on the other side, you all commit suicide. Straight away, but you're not allowed because you have an agreement with your soul. The punishment is too heavy, the depletion of the soul, that you cannot waste energy, you cannot take energy. That's why in the last teaching, he was referring to where Azar was pushing Mr. Keshe for answers, which actually I started the question with Mr. Keshe. He said, man is not ready for it. Man is not ready for the truth. But he dropped it at the end. If you go back to it, he says, man should have never killed. Thou shalt not kill. So who are you going to trust? Who is your best friend? Who is the one who's always with you? In all his freedom, but he's always with you. Because he's committed with you and he stays till the agreement is finished. Doesn't that put a different light on why to walk into the universal system? It's full of love. It's the gift from the universal community. Nothing is hidden because there is nothing there. It's just you and the field strength. Why holding back? Unless, of course, you're not ready to face yourself. And the beauty is in the next point. 1 point only, peace, tranquility, and equality. Many of you who will not even remember what fear was, because by elevation of the soul of the man, where he's referring the man, which means the physicality soul, is not, there is no fear. In the dimension of the physicality, you will understand more that when you enter the universal systems, there is 1 point only, peace, tranquility, equality, and out of these systems walks out the same. At the last man who walked in, walked out.
Carolina.
Yes.
We asked this question directly to Mr. Keshe in private teaching, I think. The soul of physicality, the soul of the man. The soul, when he says the soul of the man, he's referring to the soul of the creator. The soul of physicality is the soul of the physicality. I thought there were 3 at one time, but he said no, only 2, unless you're a beautiful person.
You know, do you remember his teaching about the elevation of the whole universe, the whole existence? He says, I'm not here just for mankind. I'm here for the totality because the whole universe needs elevating. I'm a universal teacher.
Yes.
I teach right across. So it means that everything is getting elevated. The physicality, the soul of the man, but that doesn't mean that it is incomplete, huh? It means the field strength needs to elevate, but
right.
In its totality. And you're right, this elevation of the soul of the man, but he straightway refers is not fear in the dimension of physicality. So it's a vice versa. You will understand more that when you enter the universal systems, there is 1 point only. There is peace, tranquility, and equality. And out of these systems walks out the same as the last man who walked in, walked out. He already elevated all the souls on this planet. He mentioned it in one of the last teachings. The elevation has already taken place. But at the same time, he's working in right across the universe. He's not only here for just us, and not even only for the humanity, because we have, I do not know in numbers how many more animals and other creatures here. They're all elevating at the same time with us. But because we have been deprived and the message is sitting in the above, which we discussed first with the opening, my message to the religious leaders, that's where a lot of things went wrong. Go back to his teachings, you will find the anchor points of referring to that. Why? Actually, it started right after the death of Fabio. That first teaching has opened those doors. The death of Fabio has opened that platform of teaching. That's where the whole teaching just flipped. Listen to it again. And he even explains, or it's very near to where he teaches the universal language with his hands. Listen carefully how he says that they are finished, the one who was abusing. And that they don't even know the signs of the hand, because that's the reason why he explained them the right way in the physicality. These are all sitting in a sequence to support mankind to go faster. And the signs are on the wall everywhere. And that's why, if you have noticed in the last 2 weeks, a lot of previous teachings have just started popping up. Because people are asking questions, so they get the referring to these platforms of teaching and explanation of Mr. Keshe so fast. Because everything has been explained. Even how to position yourself for where you want to go. Let's call it space flight. The how to reverse any condition. All those platforms of teachings have re-emerged. He explains exactly how to position what with your ganses, place your healthy hand in it, and then place your burned hand in it, and it will be healed in no time. How to feed yourself is also in one of those teachings. Nothing has been hidden from us. It's just a matter of going back and listen from the first day again to be able to understand even what is on the table better today. That's why I'm not rushing through the 300 teaching. I'm taking it as slow as needed for you to be able to put your questions across. And there you go again with the answer which I said about the religious leaders previously. Underneath that one, he says, we don't abolish the seat of kingship. The kings will abolish their own seat. Many of the world leaders will cry to the rest of their population, asking for forgiveness in what they have done. But that applies the same for the religious leaders. Because no one is higher or lower than anyone else, because we are all equal on soul level. And Jalal just posted it out, is in 1-to-1 Knowledge Seekers platform. And it's beautiful. He has showered you with gifts, Mr. Keshe. Now it's time in the workshops, as we discussed earlier in the private, to start working and opening them up. You have received everything. But maybe now the time is mature that we can work with it. And for your answer, Mark, just look at the structure of the brain is like an onion. Elevation of the soul. The structure of the brain of the man has layers and layers, very much like an onion. So is the soul of the man. It's you in how you enter and how you understand the totality, that you don't peel the, I don't know, peel the onion, but you live in the fields of the totality of it. Those souls who mature enough find a way to the inner sanctum. Those who are arrogant stay in the dimension of physicality. Station of physicality is station of ignorance and weakness. If the mankind understand this, why does mankind see suffering as a point of maturity? I will never understand why mankind doesn't see the elevation of the soul as a point of positiveness to live a comfortable life and not through the suffering. There you have your answers. If you know and you trust yourself, and with all the teachings and all the platforms, that if you can enter that system and you can walk out as a peaceful man, isn't that what we're all aiming for? And then you can share your peace with the others. Most probably because you will have understood how it should be done. If you walk out of that system, you might be able to increase your way you are as a knowledge seeker and literally follow the path of teaching and sharing what Mr. Keshe is intending. These systems will need no advertising. But in so many ways, you can make your own universal system. It's now up to the knowledge seekers to combine the understanding of what Mr. Keshe has taught, because I just mentioned a few of them. The reversal of any condition in the one-to-one teaching platform. The positioning where you want to travel. And Jalal can give you one after another, and I posted them in the sequence as people were requesting the knowledge. You're capable of doing it all yourself. But it's you who decides to take it up. Because he says with the new space technology, which we release more and more, you will understand more about yourself. These technologies are not brought in to give you comfort in the physical dimension. It's brought out for you to find the shortcuts, the proper ways that you can bypass millions of years of ignorance on this planet. So the whole purpose is, the way I read it, is to elevate yourself as fast as you can. And to be elevated as fast as you can. In a way, it's important, he says. Why you don't have understood. Mankind has to understand this operation of his soul from now on, and not his physicality. I am in love with peace, because peace is part what I was created out of. But enough, see the anger inside due to the behavior of the man. Now I understand why I've got this ticking clock, that how mankind has evolved over centuries to this point. You have to understand part of the totality of the life of a man from now on is not his physical life anymore. The responsibility of the mankind is to understand the structure of his soul, how it operates, how it has to behave, how it lives among the others in the universe, and it's not anymore important what and what shape your body takes. It's how you manifest the soul of the man at the point of manifestation is important. And you have to understand, go back to the teachings earlier on. When you stand in front of the universal community, you are naked, not in the dimension of clothes, but in the dimension of the feeling of the soul of the man. This is the beauty with the new knowledge. He gives you all the answers you're looking for. And that was one of the reasons I do not know. Yeah, it triggered with my response to Mr. Keshe was we were sitting a month or two ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I can't exactly remember the time, when we have these conversations, suddenly out of the blue, he says, and this will bring the change, and that will bring the change, and this will go there, and that will go there. And he's just, like in the teaching, he's just rattling. When he was finished, I said, Mehran, do you understand what the impact will be just from this one universal system? He says, yes. I said, but people need time to understand, people need time to be debriefed, people need to be informed. Oh, he says, that's not my job. That's the job of the Universal Council. And if you remember in my private teachings last year, I started referring to it. I tried to explain, that's where I kickstarted the opening of this 300 platform. That's why I kickstarted the demilitarization paper, the document which a lot of knowledge seekers and especially the Universal Council support members have been working on with the Universal Council, because he refers to the Universal Council as becoming the governing body. What does that mean? Not to come and dictate to others what they have to do, but to show the path how it could be done. And we have learned, if you put your intention to create something, it means you create it to become into the matter state. So it will reveal itself from the wish from the soul, through the energy, through the field string, because you are a creator. It will manifest itself in the matter state, which means for so many people here on earth, it will bring the change. But that doesn't mean it has to go through the suffering way, in the painful way, but it can go through a peaceful way. So how can you bring peace where so many changes suddenly going to have such a huge impact among so many? Just look at what we have dealt with so far with the universal system. Churches, just imagine they're all closed. There are no more doors opening for ceremonies. But we can start creating the wish for them to be converted into, for a proper and a better way to serve humanity. Does that mean, somebody said something to me, where was it? I think it was in Austria, regarding that priest who was maintaining 3 churches, just something flipped from somebody. And I said, now it comes back. Maybe that's the reason why it was said that time, so I can repeat it to you. And people are not religious, but they're bounded to the church because of the community activities. I said, what? He said, yeah, it might sound stupid, but people are not going to church because they are religious. They are just there because they have so many activities with the elderly, with the children, through the communion, through the celebrations, and they still want to carry their things and do, but they have nothing to do with the church anymore. But they can't walk away because through that they are attached to the church. So maybe that will give you a lot of ideas that you can keep their activities going, because they want to be as a unit together doing all these celebrations with families and children. But does that mean, why haven't they found a solution to separate themselves away and they can still carry on? They don't need the church. So these are all what all of us knowledge seekers and all the councils can start bringing forward when you pay attention to it for that to change. Demilitarization has the same purpose to serve. That was what came out of the discussion with Mr. Keshe. I said, and Mr. Keshe brought it up first actually, but we just went along with so much information. I said, Mr. Keshe, we're gonna have to give them an alternative. We're gonna have to give them a big booklet with how and where can this world of military serve in a different way. It's the same principle as not being a religion anymore, but wanting to belong to something. So we can find the same solutions for whoever is attached to the military, because it's a world on its own. But there will be more and more changes falling into place. And this is the reason why I put the 300 on the table. And Mr. Keshe said straight away, that's a good idea. He says, that's brilliant, because that is where exactly I explained where humanity's future is going. And this is where we all started our journey just before Christmas, working on these topics. Because I just simply had one conversation about that with Mr. Keshe, and he didn't even stand still when he was explaining all this so fast, and it just clicked. I said, but this is going to create chaos, and we have to. Oh, he says, I don't have time. This is not my job. That's why I brought it to all of you. And then even in the discussions, some of the knowledge seekers said, yeah, he already started actually 2 teachings, 3 teachings before the 300. And it just carries on until even the last one. The changes are huge, but we can make them smooth. So anybody, any questions? I like your input.
Was a question from Diane in the YouTube, who asks, please, what is the definition of field strength?
Field strength is, in its easy way explained, is when you put a magnet on the table and you put a few magnets around it. You all know how a magnet is working. So when you move your magnet, all the other ones will change position. Or they're going to fly to you, or they're going to fly away, depending on the field strength of the magnet and the others, because they're all interacting with one another. So field strength is a strength, which is, if you put it like a magnet, it has a strength, because there are different magnets with different strengths. So it depends how strong your magnet is, what it's going to do to the other magnets. Field strength, when we are referring it as a knowledge seeker on soul level, means when you put your attention, let's say, to give from yourself to support somebody else without putting limitations on it, just give freely, say, take what you need. You become that strong magnet on the table, and you release your field strength towards the other person, which you can imagine like another magnet. And then that other magnet will position itself to the field strength, what he needs, or what you have, depending on what you have created. So the interaction is between the two of you, or between the magnets among each other. If that makes it much easier for you to understand. Because the first thing Mr. Keshe does in any conference, in any presentation, he has a bunch of little magnets with him. And he says, just play with the magnets. Then you will understand, I don't need to burn no fuel, and they will interact. It's the easiest way to explain field and field strength and gravitational and magnetical in field strength.
Diane says, thank you.
And I always say, you're always welcome. So, Mark, any more questions about?
Carolina, I have a question.
And you are, please?
My name is Ted. I live in West Virginia.
Oh, hello, Ted. Good evening.
I was wondering about the question that I've heard you and Mr. Keshe propose about why the humans choose the suffering as the way of elevating. And I was thinking that the old teachings of karma and things like that kind of play into it, and even the way sin is looked at in Christianity. And somehow, like how Jesus was trying to teach us, we can forgive ourselves of all this sin if we're ready to. And then it kind of leads me to wondering like more about like, well, why do people that really give and love to give and feel it so much, like there's always somebody else to save or to help first before we'll do it for ourselves? And it's like a hang up kind of, I think that, and I've seen the progression of people that have connected. It seems that they connect, and then after they've received, then they go back and start helping people because they know how to do it correctly. And I think a lot of people, including myself, we want to help people before we help ourselves in a way. Does that make sense to you at all?
Yep. Because when you listen to Mr. Keshe's teaching, he always refers that they look how they behave. Do you remember that in his teaching platforms?
No, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, he refers to, especially when he explains more into depth about certain nations, when you see the change and the confirmation because of the conduct. So if a whole, because I put that question, if you remember, let me think how to put it. He was very clear about this. When my question was, why didn't they intervene much earlier? And then he took the topics about the Mayas and Atlantis and a lot of other places. And he said, we don't interfere if it's only one. But if the whole country changes the behavior as to what was the ruling, then we intervene. Like he has given you these examples, like they punished the Jewish for what they done to Christ. And then Baha'u'llah punished the Muslims for what they did. So Mr. Keshe has said this punishment has to end because otherwise it never ends. Do you remember he was referring to the trap?
The trap, as in what way? No.
You don't recall. Maybe Jalal can help you where to find him because he's becoming a very walking dictionary for me sometimes, and I thank him for it.
Well,
it's the conduct of your conduct shows the path of your intent. So the change is completely up to you. And yes, if that is stronger within you, you will be more lenient to help others, because in helping others, you haven't understood how it works, although I've tried to explain that so many times. The more you give, the more you receive. That means you elevate the others, but at the same time, you get elevated. Right. So the path of you finding release and more peace is by doing something for somebody else faster.
Well, the way I found out about the Keshe Foundation kind of connects to what you're saying, and I was kind of in like a not really a dark place, but I was just upset about the environment, like the natural gas and all the fracking hurting the water around here. And I was like kind of in a dark spot, and I reached out to like the aliens or the others, and I was like, why don't you all intervene? Like, I live in a state where we're like the poorest, we're the unhappiest, we're the unhealthiest, and we have all these resources, and it's like I understand in a way what Africa is like you're the poorest, you're all these effects, and then you have all these minerals, and they just get taken somewhere else, and those people are rich, and then everybody here suffers. And I was like, why don't you all intervene? And I was really upset about it. And like the next day, my friend Christopher comes over, and he's like, I got a message for you from the internet. He's like, I was reading this, and I knew I need to give it to you. And it was like a message that said, it was from the others, and it said, like, we don't intervene because you all truly believe that 1% of the population controls 99%, and that's like a universal like untruth. Never be that way. And they're like, if you all will continue to believe that such a small portion of your population actually controls what you do and how you feel and how you live, then you'll never get anywhere. And I was like, huh. And it made perfect sense. And then shortly after that is whenever the blueprint teachings happened for the MagRav unit. And like, I understand it now in a different way. And I appreciate that help to understand that. But it's still a very big challenge to overcome, like a conditioning, really. Because I've felt the love before from the other side, and it's like so powerful that it can't be a lie. Like, there's no way to hijack it. There's no way it was something that I dreamed up. Like, it happened, and it was huge. But like achieving it again has been like very difficult. But I believe, I don't mean to go on a monologue, but I like believe that the machine and the technology is just the way, like Jesus was teaching us how to heal through, like Mr. Keshe says, like he's trying to teach it through joy and happiness. And there's been a lot of people who try to teach it, but it could just be as simple as if we wanted to build a machine to let it happen, because we're having such a hard hang up on letting it go emotionally, naturally, and we want a machine to do it for us. It will do it for us. And that's my current belief and why it works. And I think it's very powerful to think that a machine could help us to bypass like all of this suffering that we want to hold on to, because we don't have to.
But now I'm going to ask you, why do you need a machine when you are complete and powerful enough to do it yourself? Why do you want to rely on a universal system when actually you're complete to do it? You just need to call upon your soul, just as you were wishing for a solution for your condition, and then the gentleman actually was responding to your call as a wish, and your intent was so beautiful that you received the answer to become a knowledge seeker. But you haven't found the strength enough, sufficient enough for you to acknowledge that Mr. Keshe says I am no higher or lower than you, which means we are from the same field strength. Why is that acknowledgement not there yet among the knowledge seekers? Because that is your point of strength. If you go to the health teachings, he explains exactly for what purpose your organs or where and how they are functioning. And that is the understanding he's asking, the totality, but he explains everything. He has gone through all the steps. It's not only the GANs, it's not only this, it's not only that. If you go throughout all the teachings very slowly and you take your time, he gives you every step of who you are. You are complete. I just acknowledged it and I confirmed it to Mark. I said, your soul, if you even go just to that simple teaching platform, how the soul is created, how it has created your physicality. If you can create a physicality, you think that you're not capable of creating, you are a creator. It's your mindset and for what purpose do you want it to serve? Your wish was to serve, to come out of where you are in that bad situation. You have discovered so many points and steps throughout the Keshe Foundation being connected as a knowledge seeker. But why don't you take it one step higher? Because it's so beautiful explained when we create a wish. And it's very simple, huh? I tried to simplify the wish and the understanding of the shaman standing there when they were requesting for rain, because it was that bad. And he explains within a few seconds, it was finished. And the guy said, it's already done? That's it? And he said, yes, the shaman. He says, I feel the rain, I see the rain, I taste the rain, and I stand in the mud because it has rained so much. That is the secret with what you create as a wish. It has to be already there. Because if you create the environment of its existence, then it will manifest in the matter state for you to see it. I try to use so many times the explanation of the architect. How does somebody in art, even I'm going to make it easier with an architect, but if he has given the wallet to build and construct something beautiful the way he wants, what does the architect does? He sits down and he creates a vision, what he wanted, like a dream. Now he can make his dream. He will write it down on paper. But his intent is what he visionized. So it didn't exist because that building was never built before. He's the first one who's going to put it from his mind, the way he sees everything into detail, because that's what he was trained for. And then he draws it down and then he hands it over to the constructors. You are in the same way, in the same form and the same capability of creating your reality. You are the creator. It's where do you put your mindset, in what and for what purpose do you want it? Because his purpose is the creator as an architect. And his purpose for it to serve in his creation is a building. And you can follow the steps. So why would it be so difficult for every single human being to create what he imagines? And it happens every day, but you pass by because you don't stand still. Everything we see, furniture, design, colors, development in science or IT, the computers, everything we see, the planes, they have started from a point of somebody had a dream and a wish. And he received the facilities and the money to develop it. Because his wish is so strong and it manifests in a Boeing or in a flat screen television or in an iPhone or in whatever you want, you are capable of creating it in the matter state for it to serve. Who are they serving? Because if they create that kind of beautiful building, it pleases the eye, it satisfies so many people admiring that building. But he is receiving all these goodies as we say, oh, this is beautiful, this is marvelous. Those are going to his soul, and partly to the ones which are all involved in being able to develop that building. So is your wish ambitious enough to change your whole environment? Are you capable of it? Of course you are. When are you going to start dreaming? When are you going to start putting it into your vision? And then let it go for the universe to create it for you. To help you, to support, to bring sufficient enough field strength for you to, for that to be manifested. But you are the creator. Because you're the initiator. So how much responsibility are you taking of the change? And what do you want to change? Aren't you a magnificent living being with a soul just like everybody else? It's just, have you put enough attention to yourself to trust your soul that you can do? Of course you can. That's what you are. You are a creator. That is exactly what Mr. Keshe is trying to get us to go to, that higher field strength of who you are and what you are. And he walked you through all the little steps for everyone to evolve to the level for you to accept who you are. You don't need anything. These are all support systems in the matter state. Mr. Keshe keeps on saying, please walk away from the Ganses, walk away from the matter state, start working with the field strength, understand the field strength. I just explained to the lady, she says, what is field strength? That is you creating for what purpose to serve, and you start, and it starts changing. And if you go to the Wikipedia, there are many wishes there and many confirmations what we all together have established on change, because we are the creators of, through the wish to serve who. And we constant get confirmations, this is changing, that is changing, there is changing, that has done, that's been achieved, that is going there. But people forget, as knowledge seekers, that they're connected to this wish of the change. They've added their field strength to that wish. So that magnetical field strength for that purpose to serve has been put in from all of us. You can do a lot on your own, but if you put your wish even out, as we are doing, you get the field strength from everyone else coming into your direction for that purpose to serve. So create your wish, come back next time, or post it that we can find your wish, and then we circulate it out, and we will all give to your wish. It will be given if it's put for the purpose to serve other souls, to bring peace. Because the universe works only in that direction, in that way. Just look what he says about the universal system. What does it bring and what is in it? Just have a look.
Thank you very much. Can I say one more? Do you mind if I say one more thing? It's very unique that, you know, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 8 months ago, something like this. Mr. Keshe was like, it's time to stop working with the machines and find this within yourselves. And it was pretty powerful when he said it, because I believed it. And it's interesting to work on that side of it and then go back to an actual physical machine, because I feel it becomes more powerful then. Thank you very much. I love you all.
Thank you, Ted. And we have Dean with his hand up too. Do you want to go ahead, Dean? Not hearing you, Dean. You'll have to unmute your mic there. Okay, I see your microphone's unmuted, but I don't hear any sound yet.
Maybe he can type the question or what he would like to know.
Yeah, appears to be a microphone issue there at your end, a connection or something, Dean. You might reconnect. Still not hearing you. Okay, well, maybe we can connect later there. All right. We'll have to...
if I may again, lately, maybe other people are experiencing this too, but lately in my dreams, my dreaming state, all sorts of issues and people that I have met and interacted with in the past, and all sorts of things have been swirling and coming to the surface. And when we talk about the universal enhancement system, it seems to me that, you know, it's like I'm going in my dream state into the universal enhancement system, and all of the, you know, I'm not getting emotionally but involved. I'm not feeling angry or whatever, but I'm just meeting issues, and sometimes it's people, and it's coming through from past experiences and so on, and current experiences also, and lots of things are being, you know, it's very real, and discussions are being had, and interactions. People are communicating, they're talking to me and I'm talking to them, and, you know, and just the other night when I was having my dream state, you know, I saw the UFO that Mr. Keshe saw in Brazil. You know, it wasn't in exactly the same context, but I was talking to someone and the sky was dark, and everyone was running around, you know, what's going on, and you know, including the little red band of light that denoted the edge of the craft. It was really vivid, and I said, "Look at that! Look! Can you see? That's the edge, and it, you know, it goes down. It looks like it goes beyond the horizon, but it's just, and look how big this thing is. It's huge, you know, and all sorts, just basically all sorts of issues, all sorts of both current and past situations seem to be flooding into my dreams." And I just wonder if perhaps I'm processing these things just as if I was in the universal body enhancement unit. And I just wonder if anybody else is experiencing something like this.
Yeah, definitely. I get that that impression. I think we mentioned it in the testimonials group, actually, about just seeing the image of the unit is enough to trigger this concept or this experience of being in the unit or already feeling the effects of it. And for me, as soon as I saw it, I knew that that was the unit, the correct design, and everything seemed right. And as soon as I saw that very first image, I was totally inspired by it, because I felt that it could work. It could be like a sort of a way to allow ourselves the permission to bypass our ordinary physicality stuff, our psychological issues and problems, and all of that stuff at various levels could be bypassed and simply engage in the act of pure presence of the essence or the soul. And to me, that was the beauty of it, is that that could be done by mocking it up inside of our visualization and actually putting ourselves in that position inside the unit and having it, visualizing it closing around us, and we're completely at peace at that time. We connect with our inner soul source, and bingo, that's what that simple connection is, what does all the work. Everything after that just kind of falls in place, in a way, is the way I was understanding it, just from the very first images. And seeing the 3D animation just was the cherry on the cake, as they say. It made it even easier to visualize inside and actually mock it up and kind of run through it.
Rick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of something I'm sure you've heard years ago, and I'm sure the unit far surpasses or superpasses something that was called the Montauk chair. And I think there was a book written about it, but it's something where people were sitting in this chair, and I don't know if they were using electricity or magnetism, or I've never read the book or even reviewed it, but it's something similar to this. And of course, this unit far surpasses its abilities, appears unlimited, as we are.
Mm-hmm. There are other forms of chambers, like isolation chambers or flotation tanks and that kind of thing as well, that people have experimented with over the last decades, perhaps
right, and
longer.
Portals and rocks and different things, but this is a universal unit.
Yes.
You think they are less universal, those others?
Yeah, that's the thing about it. If you can get into look at some of the ancient structures, for example, maybe Stonehenge or some other of the really old the pyramids and that kind of thing. You can imagine climbing into a sarcophagus for the purpose of going through, they say there's like a 3-day transformation that could be taken place by getting into the sarcophagus and experiencing your own death of the but not a real death, but just the death of the psychological fears of that. And we have people that do that today that are escape artists and so on. They can spend days literally inside of a container with no air, because they've learned to control their physicality, and they can go into a state where they don't require the physicality to be using as much energy and air and so on and so forth. They've tamed that animal in a way. And perhaps that is the lesson. If we can learn to bypass our fears, it doesn't really matter so much the technique or the device that's used, because it's an internal process. No matter what happens on the outside, it still refers back to connecting with that source inside of ourselves, not connecting with an external thing. And it's not necessarily about healing the physicality directly, but healing that connection with the source or soul, and allowing that to do any of the repair work that might be required between it and its physicality aspect.
I've never heard of any of the portals, and maybe it wasn't shared with us about feeding or about balancing the physicality, but more for travel. Now, maybe it just wasn't shared for us, as Carolina said. Do you think they're limited? Not.
Such as, give an example, maybe?
Well, say a paraplegic going up and getting into a rock wall somewhere where there's a portal. You couldn't do that too easily. This thing is more on demand or on your wish for feeding, balancing, traveling, looking at the soul, communicating with the soul of the ancestors, and so on. Even finding a lost child.
Sorry. Wouldn't it be more logical to say that when the time is right, those will become accessible because of the logical way, as Mr. Keshe has explained, that that field might be so strong that it might destroy you the minute you walk in. We are everything, even when you talk about these portals in the rocks or pyramids or whatever, knowledge seekers should stand still that whatever you look at is a field strength in a matter state. But if you take everything what is on this planet and reduce it to a field strength, there will be nothing left. There will not be ashes, there will be nothing. As in one of Mr. Keshe's teachings, when he said, when that happens, is whoosh, and everything's gone. It's gone back to its original state as a soul in field strength, or different souls, or a lot of souls. But it's just the physicality that has disappeared. But most probably you have not been encountering or been able, because your field strength is not at that field strength that you can tolerate those fields. It's like putting a frequency that all the windows blow out. Like a sopran can raise her voice, that she can make all the crystal glazes just to shatter into pieces. And she didn't touch them. But she released the field strength for them to go kaboom. We are slowly elevating to that higher field strength to be able to tolerate those. Remember, in one of Mr. Keshe's teachings, he said, the reason why more and more dinosaurs and those tall people are getting discovered is because we are in the planetary system positioned near to when that took place at that time. The field strengths are matching. That's why these discoveries are coming. So every time when there is a change, don't look at the matter state, but look at where is it according to the field strength, what was or what is. It will bring you a lot much easier into answering your questions.
And even, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and he did say he has the ability to increase the energy within the unit. And what would happen then, I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go and review that, but he said there is more than one level of energy to be introduced because of all these sequences probably that can be input.
Yeah, but who says you can't do it yourself?
I agree 100%.
Because when he
He's showing
says that the allowance will come for you to change your soul or to elevate your soul, you are going to be the decision maker of that. So you change the field strength. That's why he says, be aware before you go in. And I think Rick remembers when he visited Trani, where Mr. Keshe was speaking about the pyramids. Most probably this will very soon come to light as well, their whole purpose. And it has started actually, because I already released part of it. Or through other scientists, which are working and discovering. It was not me who found the dinosaurs. It was not me who found the tall people. But the knowledge is coming on the surface. If nobody has any more questions, I would like to call it a day for today. We tried to stay within our 2.5 hours. Anybody?
Joachim.
Joachim. From Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. When we create the CO2 box, we create a field, a magnet for carbon. Is it the same with the reality? Because the carbon field already exists. Does the reality already exist in the fields?
You cannot. Yes, you cannot bring something forward if it doesn't exist. You cannot speak about something that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So even an architect cannot bring it into manifestation if he hasn't created it in the first place. You're the one who's making the CO2 box. You're the one who's positioning everything. But I am 100% sure quite a few knowledge seekers don't have no production in the CO2 box, or not even CO2. Because the point of start before you start is a process of attention. Your intent, how you create it, for what purpose you are creating, is so important. Because you're the creator of what will appear in that box. It's a constant interaction with field strengths, no more, no less. Your curtains, your chairs, your sofas, when they finish their life of serving us, they go back and they get converted to something else, or they go up into ashes and then they become the field strength for the plants because ashes are healthy for growing plants. It's one big recycling process of field strength through the matter state and going back into field strength to be created in another place. So you see the toolbox does the same. That's why I always refer to people, when you listen to somebody's conversation, they only speak about with what they're busy with. What exists to them, that is what they're speaking about. Where they put their attention to, that is what they're speaking about. And that's why, in so many ways, I say it in a shape and a form, they always tell you what they're going to do with you. You just got to listen. Because I cannot do something and I will not do something, or I will not carry out something which I am not busy with. Because simply it doesn't exist. But when the attention span is there, then you start, and it starts materializing itself. That's why you can shift the condition and create a new condition. Exactly as I explained to the gentleman from the United States. I'm sorry, I don't remember all your names. Joachim, I know from the Brazilian teaching platforms.
Yes, thank you. And if I can make another question,
Yep.
then the matter state is the confirmation of the manifestation.
Yes.
And all the possibilities of that manifestation already exists at the same time.
It's not because it hasn't manifested itself that it doesn't exist, or the field strength hasn't been released. It just needs sufficient enough field strength for it to then to materialize.
But does the field all for all the manifestations already exist or not?
When you go back to the understanding how a soul is created, or how a soul comes into existence in the matter state, in the physicality, you have to go and follow all the steps how Mr. Keshe explains. You first have the man and wife, which decide, so the intent is there. I'm speaking the normal level of what we can follow. And then these two from each one, they merge. And then that increases in its field strength, the egg and the sperm. They start dividing. It's a division process. So they're multiplying, so they're increasing their field strength. So the minute they have reached sufficient enough high field strength, that is when the soul can take position. But then you have to listen to what Mr. Keshe also explains, that it's an agreement with all the souls for that soul to be given or to start this process or point of existing there. And the soul itself also has the freedom to decide. So everything is in according of field strength in agreement, because you cannot steal anything. It's given freely. So whatever is existing, all the souls right across the universe are all at the same time let's say, in agreement that that soul will be taking place there. So it always exists somewhere for it to become something. But it's the intent and the field strength accordingly that then that will manifest itself. That's why Mr. Keshe says the soul of this planet must have been a crippled soul. It didn't have sufficient enough field strength. That's why it's not in balance. And there you get the explanation where you go to where a soul starts taking the point of agreement. That's why he insists, and he was so explicit in the explanation why you should take care of the woman before she gets pregnant, and also of the man and the whole family condition, that is peaceful and that the field strength is at this highest field strength possible for that to be able to create a perfect soul and physicality soul. Because all the souls still have, through their development of knowledge. And there you get your answer, because Mr. Keshe says, if something has been done wrong or gone wrong, the soul never uses it as a revenge or punishment. The soul always converts it into knowledge. And there you come again to, as the gentleman from the United States was saying, we tend to start doing for others more than for ourselves, although we are suffering. And that is how you create the chain of evolving. The more you give, the more you receive. And that's why Mr. Keshe said, be aware, because you knowledge seekers, the more you're giving, be prepared, you will receive so much more to be able to give more. But that's all in field strength. So you cannot receive from something that doesn't exist, can you?
Yes, of course. And as if this manifestation will benefit more and more souls, it's more probable to be manifested also.
No.
No?
No. Because you've seen on cemeteries that that was the last descendant from that family tree.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere, somehow, down the line, there comes an end to a certain process. Or because it's been completed and it doesn't need to go anymore, or it has changed. That's why I say don't look in the physicality, look at the field strength of interaction. Even if it's a human being, even if it doesn't matter. It's always, in so many ways, you have to get used to it. It's not easy, and you don't pay attention 24 hours around the clock. But so many times, I get those tiny little hints in the middle of the day. I'm doing something, or I'm shopping something, or I have to buy something. And it's like, you have to take it. And I used to ignore it, and I come home, or a few hours later, I needed it. And I had that, that flash of a thought to take it, but I refused. Now I don't do these things anymore. I try to be very much aware of myself, to listen to those little hints, I call them. The more you're aware of that is your soul communicating in one or another way, because it already knows. It's just how much do you trust your soul to guide you, and how much are you handing over? And the more you hand over to your soul, you will see there are very strange things happening, but you got to trust your soul. It takes you where you need to be. And if you don't judge and you wait out, if you can't even see clear why and how and when, just trust. It will show. And I try more and more to rely on those, what I call hints, or they call it intuition, but it's actually your other side, which is your soul, which is communicating with you. So the door is always open. It's just up to you. Are you paying attention? Are you listening? Or are you so busy with so many other things that that door always stays closed? But you can activate it because it's not a matter state. That's not somebody I hear talking to me. It's literally a feeling. It's an emotion. And we all know emotion is a field strength. It must come from somewhere. And I wasn't thinking about it. And it didn't come from you because I don't think that you were pushing me on the other side of the world to incite me to take, let's say, an extra toothbrush with me. Because I would have an extra guest unexpected that will need a toothbrush. Because that's how it works. And it's a beautiful interaction if you trust it. It doesn't mean because you don't see it, and it doesn't mean because you haven't heard from it, and it doesn't mean because you're not aware of it, that it doesn't already exist. You just, because you start putting attention to it, you pull the field strength of the knowledge towards you because you're a magnet. And then you convert the field strength and then you do something with it. So most probably it will manifest in front of you in the matter state. But you pull the energy field from somewhere. I explained it so beautiful with my son. Pardon. If you want to know how well your soul interacts with your intent and your creator, and you being the creator, just ask a child to make a wish. But you have to put a condition that that wish has to serve somebody else. And then you will start talking about miracles because these things manifest so fast because children are innocent. And they always know somebody they can do a favor for or love somebody that field string goes so strong towards it that it just is there. Within 10 days. Maximum 14 days. That's why I warned people if they have children which love animals, my God. Because the child doesn't look at your bank account. Your child doesn't take nothing into account, just his wish, his pure wish of beauty. And the love and the beauty it will get from that. That's all that it matters for the child. So it's in its innocence, it doesn't put all these restrictions on it. It just manifests. So if you can trust a child for that to see it happening, you think you're not capable of doing it. Of course you can. I've seen it too many times with my children. If they really want something, my God, it comes through the door or through the window or the back door, but it will manifest. They will get it. Because they just simply tap into the universal field strength and they collect it because that's what they want. So they create, and because of their create and their imagination and their visualization, it just poof and is there. So if that works, you think we adults cannot be a child again? in this pure form of innocence and really do for the beauty and the love and the best for whatever you want to wish or create a wish, you can change everything. But always respect that if it doesn't manifest, it doesn't mean that you can't have it. It means maybe it's better you don't have it because your soul knows better. But it will manifest something else now. And if you give it time, it will reveal itself why that didn't appear, but that the other thing appeared for you. Because it shapes you and guides you in the path you're walking, what your soul has planned together with your physicality soul, which you're not always aware of, because there is an agreement existing. Anybody else? Any more questions? Or shall
Thank
we
you,
call...
Carolina.
What?
Thank you, Carolina.
You're welcome. Start wishing. I suggested this last year to my knowledge seekers in my classes. I said, make a wish every day. Even if it never comes or reveals itself to you, it will serve somebody somewhere down the line, somewhere. The best way to understand how this works, just watch, pay it forward. But apparently it has different titles in different languages. So you're going to have to search for the translation for it. It's 6:45, Rick.
Yes, I think it's time to wrap things up. We have one leftover question maybe we can address quickly from Mercury Vapor in the YouTube. This is probably an hour ago or so, but they say, could it also be that before we go about demanding help from others, we should make sure we have at least tried to help ourselves first?
But how do you help yourself best? By learning what not to do to others. Because that's most probably what you do to yourself anyway. Because the one in front of you is literally a reflection of yourself. So why would it be written, don't do to others what you don't want to be done to yourself? I think the secret sits in that one. Why would I harm somebody else? That should give you the answer why I'm harming myself. What is looking after yourself? But I have to say that it's absolutely not easy. It's a process of maturing through the hiccups you have gone through, the good and the bad, but look what they have brought you. Don't look at them as a negative or a painful or a suffering, but look how they have shaped you and formed you and what you can do with it today. Mr. Keshe said something very beautiful. He says, don't come and tell me what you have done or what has been wrong. He says, come and tell me what you have changed today, because you have to understand the field strength of yesterday is no longer there, and the field strength of tomorrow is not there either. But we live now, we exist now, and time does not exist. So at any given moment, when you change your position, you just change your field strength, you bring the change. So why even worrying you haven't been taking care of yourself, because you can decide to do that at any given moment right now and try to stick to it. And even if you fall back, you don't even need to forgive yourself, but say, oh, I will change it today, now, and I will go to sleep with that one, but I will stick to it. And if I fall back, okay, I'm going to make a marker somewhere that I remember. So at any given moment, you can change your whole field strength. It's only when you decide that it will change. So yesterday is of no longer in any existence. Just look what the yesterday brought you where you are today. A knowledge seeker, searching for more and more and trying to reach as many as you can because you understood the pain. But if you never went through the pain or whatever, would you ever make that decision for it now to change for others? That you have made that decision? I don't think so. Because if you're a peaceful soul and everything is okay and everything is hanky-panky-dory, would you ever been brought by your soul to the table of the Keshe Foundation family? Think in that way. Think positive. You have had a journey. Whatever that journey was, it has brought you so many goodies that today, and with the knowledge and bumping into the Keshe Foundation, now you can do something with it. And we only have one purpose, one goal. And that is to bring the World Peace Treaty signed and to bring world peace on this planet. Because that's the only thing Mr. Keshe has ever asked me. He said, just stand by me so that we can complete the world peace on this planet. And I've given him my word and I stick to my word. So if that is our aim, what else do you want? Bless what you have learned and see what you can now do with it. That will bring so much change for so many others. And then at the same time, you will change yourself because you will find peace in what you're trying to achieve to give. That is your salvation. The more you give, the more you receive, the more you elevate.
And it was
Never
said,
mind.
It was said by Mr. Keshe, the idea that, like you say, we're here to elevate others, but rule number one is you must elevate yourself first. And that was part of the Mojan teachings from a few years ago that was brought out, how important that was to make sure we elevate ourselves before we attempt to go and elevate others. It kind of ties into that question.
Yes. And what is the first thing in motion? Thou shalt not steal. Not looking after yourself is because something is somewhere you allow or you do it yourself. So you got to start first with yourself. Because at any given moment, you're the most important person as a creator, as in existence. That was explained so many times when you see the news. Don't get involved. Because that's where you drain your energy. So looking after yourself is to stay compact. And try to understand. We open those way of explaining so many times. It's how much are you on top of your thinking? How much are you on top of yourself? I think that is already in so many ways very easy explained. If you're always busy with what to take and what to get angry for and what to take revenge for, that's not looking after yourself, is it? Or to allow others to insult you, to embarrass you, that's not looking after yourself, huh? And it's the moment you can walk away from those things, then that is looking after yourself, and then that is the message you can pass on to others. But the process is vice versa. And it's exactly what Mark here posted, not stealing from our closest friend or so, the one we steal the most from, Mr. Keshe said. And I think that needs a lot of understanding.
And on that note, perhaps it's a good way to complete today's workshop.
It was a beautiful workshop, I hope. It was a beautiful meeting. Actually, we started the year very nice and very beautiful. And it's the 100th One Planet,
Yes.
One Race, One Nation.
Pretty amazing coincidence, actually.
I was shocked. I didn't see it. I said, we have a celebration on our plate. That's good. See you tomorrow in your workshop, most probably, and then in my private teaching, and then we'll see where we're going to keep on going.
Yes, indeed. And also we'll have this One Nation, One Planet, One Race next week as well. So we'll be back in the regular Tuesday schedule.
Everything has gone back to normal.
Whatever that is.
I just wanted to say
Like
with a
you
lot
said,
of changes.
I thought it was great what you said about how the field strength changes every day, and we have to, and not just every day, but every moment, and we have to be in the moment to really catch that and tune into it. It wasn't the field strength from yesterday that's important, even though it may have affected us and we have fears and attachments to it. We have to let that go. We have to let go of the future field strengths, because what you feel is what's in the moment. It's just reverberations from the past or future. It's the real feelings are in the moment. Thank you for that. And thank you for everything today, Carolina.
You're welcome. And I thank all of you, because we're all in it together. And we carry on next week with the opening of the question and the answers on this 300 platform. Thank you, Andreas, and all the other knowledge seekers and support members and council members who sat on the table working on it. It's a long work. It was 3 or 4 hours. That platform is a long platform. It's not just 2 hours or 1 hour. So a lot of things have been written down, and we will open it up. And even if you want knowledge seekers that you say, oh, I remember this or that, and we haven't spoken about that, just bring us back to the platform what you want to know more. And we'll see where we can take our journey of understanding. I thank you all. I thank Rick and Flint and the other co-hosts. I thank you all for today, and it was a beautiful day. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone. And this has been the 100th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, January 14th, 2020. Okay, thank you again to Flint, and you can take us out now, Flint.
We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org www.transcending.org/donate. Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.